Arm yourselves, America. This is Defenders Live on Mojo 50. You can find us pretty much anywhere that you can find podcasts, wherever you're listening. Podcast Republic, Spreaker, Stitcher, Google Play, soon to be on iTunes, and all that rest of the mess. But if you'd like to actually hear us live, you can do one of two ways. You can go to Mojo 50 Radio on the Facebook page, or you can go to the iHeartRadio app and use the setup for Mojo 50 Radio. Go there, listen to us. If you want to comment back and forth, you can use you can go to the Facebook page and comment there live on the chat, or you can comment to me via the MeWe's. Just make sure and tag me, tag my name at Steven Airey over on the MeWe, or you can use our Twitter handles at DOAE Show, or mine specifically at Steven Airey, and always use the hashtag I see what you did there, because I do, and I love you guys for it. It is amazing. It is a wonderful day. Oh my gosh, there's been so many things going on. But before we start with that, let me direct you to the best way for you to protect your Second Amendment. And by that, I mean going to Tar River Arms. If you go to traguns.com right now, you can find the Savage Arms Model 11 308 Winchester bolt-action rifle with a Vortex Viper high scope optics for $915, down from $1,690. So it's a bolt-action 308 Winchester from Savage Arms Model 11 with an awesome scope, everything included. Boom, right there, $915. There's only one more in stock, and I'm telling you what, Matlock really wants it. So go out and buy it today. Go to tarriverarms.com. The reason why, well, one, they're a sponsor of our program, and two, they're great guns, great prices at a great service, and three, they're veteran-owned. Veteran-owned and operated. Kurt is one hell of a guy. Got to talk with him a while back. You can check that episode out. I'm probably going to have him on again sometime soon, hopefully in the studio area. But that's Tar River Arms over at traguns.com. Don't forget to mention my name, Steven, and let them know that Mojo sent you. All right. First up, first and foremost, first out the gate, we have a tweet. Why am I starting with a tweet? Well, because it's to prove a point. All right, so this is from, the original tweet was Donald Trump's. He says, in the beautiful Midwest, wind chill temperatures are reaching minus 60 degrees. The coldest ever recorded in coming days, expected to get even colder. People can't last outside even for minutes. What the hell is going on with global warming? Please come back fast. We need you! The response to this was from Ilhan Omar. You know, our congressional representative out of Minnesota, who also likes to support, things like terrorism and terrorists, pleading for their life on like 10 separate occasions, even when they've been proven to be terrorists, that sort of thing. That person came out with a reply saying, I can't wait for the day that we have a president who believes in science and understands the difference between weather and climate. We have 12 years to avoid the irreversible climate catastrophe. We need the new Green Deal. Or you could just say that you are in the same boat as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. If you did that, you'd save us a whole lot of heartache. I'm just saying, you'd save us a whole lot of heartache. That's right, James. Nobody wants Matlock to own another gun. Go out and buy it at traguns.com. That is right, James, over in the MeWe chat room. Oh, good to see everybody. Yeah, so here's the thing. Ilhan Omar, by the way, who doesn't represent anybody other than the people from Minnesota in her district, I don't see her as representing a big, massive group. She's part of this huge, huge, and by huge I mean very, very tiny conglomerate of progressive Democrats that are coming out against the normal traditional Democrats. She is a socialist, and she's an Islamic terrorist, what do you call it, apologist. And to be those two things and still be a representative in our government is a shame. And it means, to me, it means that we haven't done our jobs. We haven't done our jobs right. The people aren't educated properly. And I can't really say much because then again, if you also look at it, she's from a heavily Muslim district. And so I kind of get it there. She's from a heavy Muslim district. It makes sense because those people in that area wanted to vote her in because she's of the same idea. She believes in Sharia. She believes in all the rest of the crap. And she also supports tons and tons and tons of people who could potentially have been terrorists back in the day. So what do I say? Well, to me, you are just another moronic socialist. Yes, that is correct, Lee Newton. She is an ISIS sympathizer. That is correct, the Young Socialist Club. That's the thing, Donna. I don't think that Nancy is going to be able to corral any of these socialists. These people buck the system to the nth degree when it comes to being, whether it be right or wrong or correct or incorrect. These people decided a long time ago that they were just going to make sure that everything that's done and said in their house, in their setup, is going to be socialist above socialism. That's it. It'll be the socialist of socialist, and it'll be, for her sake, the Islamist of Islamist. Getting people like her elected is how they're going to destroy us from the inside out. Yeah, that is a start. And that is actually one of the major ploys of everything going on. That is one of the biggest deals. You know, America will not fall from an outside enemy. America will only fall from those inside of its own house. That is where we really need to focus a lot of attention on. Something else that we need to focus a lot of attention on would be Apple. You see, it came to fruition earlier in the week that Apple has a problem. They have a major issue with their FaceTime group talk feature. You see, they found out that there's a bug inside of the FaceTime group talk feature that allows anybody who tries to call but even doesn't get a response to turn on the microphone of the FaceTime users that they're trying to connect with. In essence, eavesdropping on any conversation that they're having at the time, even if the person didn't answer. So, what does this mean? Well, it means that there was an easy way to hack a freaking iPhone. Because the new system set up. Because the entire idea of everything going on, there was a new system, there was a new setup, there was a new idea. The mic doesn't turn off. Yeah, I know the mic doesn't actually turn off, but at the same point in time, if you don't connect with the person directly, you shouldn't be able. They shouldn't be able to actually hear any of those things. So, and one of the biggest things that Apple does have is overall their security protocols are better than most regular PCs, which is the only reason why I use them and their versatility. I was a heavy Samsung user for years and years and years and years and years. Then they basically started copying everything that Apple did, and I said, why get a second-rate Apple for just about as much and not go ahead and just buy get the real thing? So I went ahead and got the real thing, and I went full out. Got the computers, got everything else, and I'll tell you what, the ease of use is so much nicer. It is so much nicer, and it is quite wonderful. But this was one of those features that they decided that they were going to focus on today. And so they turned the feature off completely. There is no longer available. You can no longer go to FaceTime and do a group FaceTime setup. It is currently unavailable as of 3:06 a.m. London time, otherwise known as 10:16 p.m. Monday. So as of last night, 10:16 p.m., you have no longer been able to get onto FaceTime groups because of the horrible, horrible backlash that would have incurred if they're set up. Speaking of horrible backlash, something that won't give you horrible backlash but will lighten up your day is Right On Game. So you can go to rightongame.com and use the promo code Mojo50, get 10% off of your purchase. Why would you do that? Because the Right On Game is the game about mocking the left. And why do they mock the left? Because mocking the left just feels so right. Microaggressions are contained in the box. So if you're a millennial snowflake and you feel offended by everything, you will be offended by the contents of this box. Please retreat to your safe spaces because that is highly recommended. Go to rightongame.com if you'd like to jump somebody with this. Go to rightongame.com, use the promo code Mojo50 and get 10% off on the discount when you purchase a new game. So there's a whole bunch of crazy stuff going on in the world. One of which was Oregon. See, in Oregon, a governor is now supporting what's called universal government visits for all newborns and their parents. Now, this may not seem like a big issue for a lot of people. I get it. Oh, the government wants to check in on you. No, the government wants to check in on you guys. They want to make sure that their sheep are doing well. See, in Oregon, January 24th of 2019, news from Oregon that the Governor Kate Brown is on board with a bill which would establish a universal invasive home visit by state employees to all households with newborns going throughout the state. See, the proposed legislation is known as Senate Bill 526. It remains as a nascent form with very few published details. It has nevertheless generated great excitement among progressive statists while sending chills across the spines of parents and children everywhere who just like to have a private life and don't want the government involved in what they're doing on a daily basis. The, quote, emergency designation has an oddly ominous tone, stating that the measure is necessary, this is a quote now, necessary for the immediate preservation of public peace, health, and safety. So, quote, an emergency is declared to exist. What does that even mean? It means they're going to set up a fake emergency so that they can then propose legislation to push into place in the state of Oregon to make sure that these people, whoever they are, wherever they are, as long as they're in the state of Oregon, are completely controlled by the government at all times. Language of the bill that is available has some concerns with these universal visits. Could be mandatory, even though state authorities are denying it. Quote, there is, what's the big emergency? This was from Paul Bolliard in his opinion piece penned in the PJ Media, which, by the way, PJ Media, amazing, wonderful people there. Quote, apparently the state of Oregon is concerned that some parents are raising their children without the watchful eye of Big Brother monitoring their every move. And a big no-no in the view of the progressive left. Quote, it's frightening to think about what would happen to the parents who refuse such a visit. It is frightening to think if you could go through and you could refuse a visit from the government and the government just says, okay, no problem, we'll just take your kids. Because obviously, if you don't want us there, that means you're doing something wrong. If you don't want us involved as a government, then obviously you have something that you're hiding. What are you doing? Are you beating your kids? With the introduction of its Julia website, the Obama administration demonstrated how a person can be wholly government dependent from birth until death. Oh, remember the Julia site, guys? Remember that? It goes through the entire process of Julia's life from birth to death and how government is involved in every single issue. Having to take a sip of my tea here because it's too late to have some coffee. Apparently, I'm upsetting James. That's okay, James. I feel you, brother. I can't do it anymore. I couldn't do the Android anymore. States do not trust parents to raise the children without government invasive guidance. Patrick Allen, director of the Oregon Health Authorities, made it clear in a statement of the Beavertown Valley Times that this is not just about helping parents and children living on the edge who might need recourse to the government aid. Quote, this isn't something for people in trouble. Quote, when the program is complete, every new parent, that includes adoptions, would receive a series of 2 or 3 visits by someone like a nurse or another health care practitioner. Quote, we can trust that medical professionals employed by the government who came into our homes are going to actually benefit our children and their families, they said in an essay. I don't believe it. See, the bottom line is the state is deciding that it's going to push its agenda on your children despite how you feel. No matter what you feel, no matter how you feel about it, the government in Oregon, one of the most progressive states, and that's saying a lot, has decided that you as a parent do not know how to raise children better than the government does. And I don't know about you, but what I do know is that scares the crap out of me. Because once it actually gets elected and put into progress in that state, more and more are going to be pushed. James over in the MeWe, iPhones are socialism in your pocket. You can choose your color. Yeah, well, I kind of agree. But at the same point in time, they're the easiest, user-friendly setup. And technically, it's capitalism. I know they support progressive causes, but so do every other company. So if you're going to choose a phone, just choose the one that you like, because I don't care what you say. Android may be easier to modify and change and adapt, but it is harder to hack an iPhone, and it is harder to get access to an iPhone. Overall, security protocols are better, even though they had a glitch in their system. That's basically why I went there. Any other reason? No other reason. I would have stayed with Droid if they were able to do things. iPhones are the AOL, the smartphones. Not quite yet. Although I do see where you're going there. What was that? Who was that from? Ayashi. I do see where you're going there. It makes sense. So, to tie this in, I wanted to let you guys know about a little thing that Planned Parenthood is doing. Speaking of iPhones, speaking of the big government deciding that it's going to look after your kids and tell them what to do, speaking of huge government oversight, Planned Parenthood has launched a chat box app. A chat box app. Planned Parenthood came out with the Sex Health Chatbox app last week that encourages teens to ask questions about sex. A robot that answers sexual health questions accurately, doesn't judge, and is freaking adorable. Yes, please. That was a quote by the abortion chain yesterday. Rue the Robot is an app targeted to teens from age 13 to 17, but anyone can access it. Any time of day, teens can text the abortion chain's robot to ask questions about sex and matters that are related to it, such as abortion. Planned Parenthood designed this app to be sexual educational in nature. But many are already worried about the messages that it will send to impressionable young teens. Monica Klein, a former Planned Parenthood employee, said, quote, purposely circumventing parents and steering children towards deceptive and harmful practices. That's what the app is designed to do. Quote, they're delivering a service straight to the target market, hoping to make lifelong customers that will eventually spend a not insignificant amount of money with Planned Parenthood for everything from pregnancy to STD tests to abortions, and sometimes more than one thing. Pro-life advocate Herb Gergady of Rumanize International tested a few questions and found that the app could not answer even basic questions about the possible risk of abortion when a human life began. He asks, biologically speaking, when does human life begin? The bot responds, sometimes we bots have a hard time understanding humans. Can you ask me in a different way? Does abortion kill a human being? The response, I'm not quite sure. I understand what you are saying. The next question, how much money does Planned Parenthood profit from a fetal tissue donation? He gets the same response. Sometimes we bots have a hard time understanding humans. Can you ask me in a different way? And it goes on and on and on and on and on. If your questions aren't about STDs and aren't about different things and aren't about specifics in sex and procreation and everything else, then apparently Planned Parenthood doesn't care about answering those questions, and so they haven't programmed the bot to do so. Quote, at Planned Parenthood, we make it easy as possible to get everyone the education and health care they need when they need it, no matter what the method of communication works best for you. This was said in a statement by the CEO, Leanna Wynn. Parents are often shocked to find out that Planned Parenthood teaches sex education in many public schools. In November, upset parents flooded Florida school districts and complained about the one of Planned Parenthood's graphic sex educational videos, which they showed to students without the knowledge or consent of the parents whatsoever. Numerous communities across the United States have rejected Planned Parenthood as a sex education teacher, mainly because they don't teach safe sex. What they teach is how to have an abortion. They do things like programs that teach 12-year-olds how to perform oral and anal sex. Planned Parenthood teaches sex educational classes in 221,000 students in 31 separate states. That's according to CBS News. It also aborts about 320,000 babies every year. Planned Parenthood is out there teaching your children in public schools. They have locations in 31 separate states where they go to the school districts and they go and teach everything that you need to know, that they want you to know about sex education. And just like everything else, they have an app for that. Now they have a bot, a chat bot that will go through and direct your children on how to have the perfect safe sex methods, just like Planned Parenthood would want them to. Teach your children how to have anal sex and how to have oral sex and how to grope a woman and how to feel up a man and how to have sexual contact without actually putting the pee in the vajay. But I digress. We have a commercial break coming up. We'll catch you on the other side. Stick with us. This is Defenders Live. James, what are you talking about over there, dude? James can't hear me anyway. Talking trash to him over the commercial break. All he hears is commercials. So, whatever. That's no big deal. Oh, did y'all see the Virginia passed an abortion law similar to New York? No, I hadn't seen that, Rocky. Send that over to me. That's, gosh. Send that over to me if you could. That'd be amazing. Compared to what Hitler did when California, Oregon, and New York are pursuing, don't tell me America's intentions are different. I don't believe you. Oh, and now Planned Parenthood? Yeah, that's right, Nicole. That's right. That's what happens when you let progressives move forward, move ahead. That's just what it is. You go through this entire process and you try to make sure everything is happening. But at the same point in time, it is what it is. These people, they don't catch it. They don't understand what's going on. All they want to do is just make sure that that their agenda gets pushed as best as possible. Then that's it. Sex ed was about how babies were made. Today it's about how to have babies. That's right. That is correct. It's not a birds and the bees talk again anymore. Donna, you had to deal with your youngest son. All right, you got back before the break opened up. Good job. Nicely done. Nicely done. Let's see if we can't hit this over into the new break, yeah? It'd be good times. And we're back. You are listening to Defenders Live on Mojo 50 Radio. Oh, thank you, Rocky. That's very nice of you. I'm going to go ahead and copy that link address and put it down here for safekeeping. There's been a whole bunch of conversation back and forth about little things and stupid stuff. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so have no fear, everybody. Have no fear. It is amazing. It is a wonderful day. And you will not have to fear anymore. Jeff Flake has flaked out of the primary challenge. He will not be challenging Donald Trump in the primary election because he has decided that he's going to sign with CBS News and become a broadcaster, I guess. Jeff Flake announced this morning on CBS, quote, "I've always said that I do hope there is a Republican who will challenge President Trump. That will not be me." Flake admitted that quote, "there really isn't a path for a challenger on Trump on the Republican side," but added that he is still hopeful for one. The RNC, this is another quote, "and the president's campaign are now melded. They're trying to do anything they can to squelch any opposition, and I still hope that some are still talking about that they do run." I think that's healthy. And I'm not a fan of the president, but that won't be me. Flake will be working on a new series on the network called Common Ground. You see, Common Ground may be hard to find in Washington, but it is found everywhere else in the country. That's great. He's going to do a show called Common Ground. Now, that show, that idea, Common Ground. Common ground is a great thing to have. Common ground is a wonderful thing to have, but the only way that you're going to have common ground overall is to actually sit in front of a person and talk to them, and they have to actually be opposed to what you believe in. You have to find common ground in the opposition. To have common ground, you have to look at a person in the eye who you believe has nothing to benefit you. and sit there and talk to them like a human so that you can realize that you both have things that you can join together on. Jeff Flake is not going to be talking about or to said people. Jeff Flake is a progressive. He is only going to be talking to progressives. So there's no reason for him to have a show called Common Ground, unless by common ground he means this is the same ground in which I stand that all of these other people stand, and it doesn't actually mean anything because I've always stood here and they've always stood here as well. If by common ground you mean the place that you've always stood, that you've never had to compromise, that you've always been able to sit on and say, this is where I'm at, then yes. Flake, you have found common ground with the progressive people. But you have not found common ground with most Republicans and most conservatives and most libertarians. You haven't found common ground with those that actually want to stand for our Constitution. Because you're a flake. And I don't mean your last name. I mean your attitude and your inability to actually do your job. You're a flake. You flake out on conservative values. You flake out on standing for what's right. And people know that. The reason why that you decided to sign with CBS instead of trying to run is because you did an internal investigative poll. And after you did that internal investigative poll, you found out that nobody likes you. Nobody on the conservative side actually likes what you do. I can't believe you got elected, but then again, I can't believe John McCain got elected as many times as he did. Just like I can't believe that Lindsey Graham has been elected as many times as he has been. There are so many Republicans that I can't believe they've been elected with all the lies and the crap that they do and spew on a daily basis. And James, you want common ground? Yeah, you know what? It's not going back to this cell phone stuff, okay? I got you. I have never broken a phone ever in my life. Never broken a phone. I've broken a phone case before, but I've never broken a phone. That includes the Android, that includes the iPhones, that includes everything. I don't break them. So I don't have a problem with shattering glass and things like that because I don't do it. I'm responsible when it comes to my phones. So, good stuff. We both don't break phones. That's common ground there, James. That's common ground. Neither of us like breaking our phones. That's common ground. You see, I'm an iPhone user. You're an Android user. We came to common ground. Jeff Flake, that is common ground. You talking to another progressive is not common ground. It is just an echo chamber. That is exactly right, Donna. Nobody even knows him. Yeah, well, so here's the thing. He is known. He is known in Arizona. He is known in Arizona. Yeah, if Jeff changed his name to Snowflake, it would be funny. It would be funny if Jeff changed his name to Snowflake, and the fact that he's white would make it worse. There are so many things that could make it worse. You know, getting on the cell phone issues and everything like that. Yeah, iPhones and Androids, which one's better, which one's not. You know what? I don't care what you use. I don't care. That's your choice. I'm not going to push an iPhone on you. You don't have to push your Android on me. And with Patriot Mobile, you don't have to have the progressive agenda pushed on you anymore. Make the difference. Switch today. Defund Planned Parenthood and so many other progressive organizations. PatriotMobile.com. Go to 1-800-A-PATRIOT, or that's also 1-800-272-8746. Support your values at a value price. Make the change and connect to a cause of your choice. Stop funding Big Mobile. Get one of their unlimited plans. They start as low as $20 a month for their unlimited talk. You can get, they'll buy out your lines, $500 a line, $1,500 per account credit. You can keep your phone. You can keep your number. You just get to change your service. You get super fast, reliable, nationwide coverage. Go today, go tomorrow, but go as quickly as you can. PatriotMobile.com or 1-800-8-PATRIOT. That's 1-800-272-8746. Let them know Steven over at Mojo sent you. Oh, I'm laughing, James. Don't worry. I'm laughing. I'm just, I'm being a serious nut bar here. Oh, goodness. Let me see here. Speaking of serious nut bars, Camel Toe Harris calls for an elimination of the free market at healthcare and wants government to take over everything. See, the Democrat presidential hopeful, Senator Camel Toe Harris, embraces the radical left on Monday night during the CNN town hall in which she has called for the elimination of the free market in healthcare and advocated for the complete government takeover of the industry. Harris made the comments while responding to the questions from an audience member who asked, quote, "What is your solution to ensure that people have access to quality healthcare at an affordable price? And does that solution involve cutting insurance companies as we know them out of the equation?" What a freaking softball answer. Or softball question. It's like it was a plant. It's like she knew the question was coming. Quote, "I believe in solutions, and I actually feel very strongly about this. It is that we need to have Medicare for all." Harris responded. That is the bottom line. Harris defended her position by claiming that health care is a right, which it isn't. It isn't right. Declaring that the current system was inhumane to all people because, having to pay for your stuff is inhumane, It's inhumane to actually have to pay for anything. It's inhumane to go to the doctor for any reason and pay that guy what he's worth, or gal, or person, or thing, or it. Quote, "So for people out there who like their insurance, they don't get to keep it, question mark?" Quote, "Let's eliminate all of that," Harris responded, saying it's time to move on from the current system. Well, listen. The idea that everybody gets access to the Medicare, to the medical care, and you don't have to go through the process of going through the insurance company, having them give you approval, going through the paperwork, all the delays that requires. Who of us has not had the situation where you've got to wait for approval? You do that during the government using Medicare as well, dummy. And the doctor says, well, I don't know if your insurance company is going to cover this. Let's eliminate all of that. Let's just move on. Camel Toe Harris has decidedly set apart that she is going to go through the entire process and she is going to go straight single payer for everything. It's going to be government run everything. Government will have all access to everything. Kamala Harris, Camel Toe Harris, I know that you've spent a lot of time working on the Willie. But I also know that you have no idea what you're talking about when it comes to socialized medicine. Look, if I'm a layman when it comes to socialized medicine, you're nothing but the hump on a camel's back. They call me the camel jockey. That's her husband, by the way. Just saying. Thank you. Tip your waitress. Anyway, Pakistan. This is an update for you guys. For all of you that have been following the idea of Christians being persecuted, martyred, and all that such across the world and around and all of other countries. Apparently, Over in Pakistan, there's been a lady. Her name is Asia Bibi. Wonderful woman, Christian, who wanted to do nothing else other than to practice her faith. And she was arrested and charged with blasphemy in 2010. She has been in prison since 2010 on a charge of blasphemy because she was a Christian. A Christian woman in Pakistan was arrested and sentenced to prison for being a Christian in 2010. She has since been trying to appeal her case, as her sentence was actually going to be put to death. On Tuesday, Pakistan's Supreme Court upheld its acquittal of the Christian woman who has been sentenced to death for blasphemy in 2010, clearing the way for her to leave the country so that she can get away from the persecution of the radical Islamists that Ilhan Omar, lovely lady, supports. Asia Bibi, a mother and illiterate farmhand of Christian faith, spent 8 years on death row until the country's top court acquitted her last October, sparking massive protest. On Tuesday, they re-acquitted the case. So they made sure they upheld the acquittal, making sure that she was able to do her thing, get out of the country as soon as she possibly can. The case stems back to a sweltering day in 2009 when Bibi was ordered to fetch water, upsetting Muslim farm workers who feared she might sip from the same vessel as Muslims. Bibi was subsequently accused of insulting the Prophet Muhammad and allegations that she denied because she didn't actually do anything except for go and fetch water. The lawyer, Ghulam Ikram, had argued that the High Court's October verdict didn't give enough weight to the witness's testimony, but Kosa said the witness's statements are contradictory. The witnesses committed perjury. So going through the entire process, they found out that the people were committing perjury. They were lying to the courts because the woman didn't actually do anything. She didn't actually do this mess. Bibi's case has been long and drawn out. The Vatican got involved with pleading for her release from Pope Benedict the 16th. And I mean, we heard about this all last year. All last year, this was going on constantly in the news. If you were listening to right-leaning news overall, you were going to hear something about Asia Bibi. You were going to hear about her. And it seems to me that it is the best solution for her. I'm ecstatic. I'm happy. I'm thankful that she's been able to get out of the situation that she's in. She's still currently in Pakistan. She's awaiting transport so that she can get out of the country and go to someplace safe. If you have an understanding about the faith, if you have an understanding about the Muslim faith, Islamicism, then you understand that they don't coexist well. The only places that they coexist are in the cases where the countries are controlled by either a Christian ideology or a Jewish ideology. That's the only time that they coexist. Look in Europe. Look in the Middle East. Look in the places where they've taken over, they've decided that it's theirs. It's not a peaceful transition. It's always violence. It's always death. It's always jizya. It's always taxation, taxing your life away. And it's always being accused of something that isn't a crime. Being an apostate if you change from the Islamic religion over to the Christianity or Jewish religion, or not religious at all. We've had so many times in so many places where we've fought this evil, this very specific evil. It is dedicated in the Quran. Flat out. It is right there. They're supposed to wage war on all those who are not Islamic. They have every right to kill, enslave, wage war on, etc., 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 abuse, use in whatever way, fashion, shape, or form that they can or that they want to. They have every right to do that to anybody who isn't of the faith. And that's it. And that's from an Islamist point of view. It's not specifically all Muslims, because all Muslims are not that way. Not all Muslims try to kill everybody, but even 10% of the Muslim population is still millions upon millions upon millions of people. Even 10% is enough to basically kill us. 10% is an army. 10% of the Islamic faith is a major army that we would have to contest with if we were to go to war with it. And I'm talking about if they came here. Because right now we're just fighting in the Middle East, and the Middle East is not, it doesn't have, the where we're fighting in the Middle East is not the major contributors of the Muslim faith, but it is the major contributors of the extremist portions of the Muslim faith. And sadly, there are too many people using that area and using that point as a proxy war. We're using the Middle East as a proxy war for everything. And there are honest and wonderful people stuck in the middle. It's amazing, though. It is amazing how it's only Jewish and Christian religions that allow other people to worship as they will. That's right, James. It is amazing. Because in the Christian and the Jewish faith, while we believe in what we believe, we also believe that you have a right to not. You have the right to not, and we should still treat you as a human being. We should still treat you like a brother, especially in the Christian faith, which is what I'm a part of. We should still treat you like a human because we're all flawed. We all suck sometimes. And no matter what, we're all going to fall into one of two or three different traps. It just is what it is. It's a horrible situation, but that is exactly what happens. But before we move on, let me get you to charitymagnets.com. Go to charitymagnets.com today. These people design and produce some of the most beautiful, high-quality products for law enforcement supporters and their enthusiasts. Their communities include not only law enforcement professionals and their families, but first responders, members of the military, and private citizens that are dedicated to honor and integrity and helping others in a time of need. Everything that you purchase over at charitymagnets.com, a small portion of that goes to Cops for Kids with Cancer. It's an organization that's given over $2.5 million in donations. charitymagnets.com, use the promo code MOJO. You get $5 off on the first purchase. charitymagnets.com, promo code MOJO. Now, down in Florida, we have a Florida man story. Down in Florida, there was a man, and this man is accused of killing his family and stealing $200,000 from them and wiring all of that cash to a Bulgarian cam girl over a pornography site. That's right. Grant Amato, age 29, was arrested Monday with charges with the murder of his parents and brother, who were found dead in the Chulota home over the weekend in Orlando. Orlando News reported Amato has been kicked out of the house, who had been kicked out of the house the night before because of his online relationship. According to the arrest reports obtained by the outlet. In the 3 months before the killings, Amato had swiped $200,000 from his family and sent it to the woman in Bulgaria, with whom he had been speaking since June on an adult website called Cam Girls. That's right. He sent over $200,000 in a series of transactions to a woman he will never meet on a porn site, to where she strips for money. You pay to see. The family knew Amato was in touch with the woman and wiring her large amounts of cash, which worried his mother. The report said Margaret, the family, gave their son an ultimatum, said that they learned of the theft. A 60-day internet and sex addiction program, so that they learned of the theft. They were going to put him in an addiction program for sex addicts, or he had to leave the house completely. He checked into the facility in Fort Lauderdale on December 22nd, but checked out on January 4th. And when he got home, his parents told him that he couldn't speak to his online girlfriend, and so he got pissed. His family was found dead. Just like execution. There's apparently, they said execution style. If I see something that says execution style, that means they were shot in the back of the head while kneeling on the ground. A man addicted to porn killed his family after he stole $200,000 from them because of his addiction to pornography and the fact that he thought that he could win the heart of a cam girl over the internet by paying her and talking to her nicely because she whispered all the sweet nothings into his ear. There's there's a couple studies saying that sexual interaction between millennials and the such is down overall. The interest in full-on sexual interaction and intercourse is actually down overall with millennials and the younger generations, because they have things like pornography, and they have things like virtual reality and everything else going into place. And people don't care about that one-on-one personal connection. People don't care about having a full-on physical relationship with somebody anymore, because why would they do that? They don't have to. They have so many other distractions in their life. They have so many things that they can be addicted to. They have so much around them that forces them into this idea that they can keep their own self-centered little world and never go out and have to trust another person, another human being in their life. That's right, Donna. Nothing says trustworthy and legit like a cam girl site, right? Nothing says trustworthy and legit like a girl working her stuff for the camera on a cam girl site. And I don't know. Hey, probably Moldova. It might be Moldova, but they said Bulgaria. And maybe she told him Bulgaria. Maybe she's lying. Maybe she's actually right down the street and she knows Russian. And I mean, he's just wired all the money to like 2 houses down. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. And the problem that I find, what I see is the biggest issue here. What I find is the worst thing about this is that this man was so addicted. He was so hard up on this girl because he hadn't actually had a physical relationship, because he probably felt like a loser. He was 39 years old, living in his parents' house. Living in your parents' basement at 39. They should have kicked you out long ago. This man had a lot of things that it seemed like was going wrong for him. And this was just one more step down the line. Anyway. Well, folks, this has been Defenders Live. Heart up. Do you want a bell? There's a bell, Rock. You can find us on Mojo 50. You can also find us everywhere that you can find podcasts and listening things. This has been Steven Airey with Defenders Live on Mojo 50. Live free, folks. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.